amazing you. Welcome back to Impact Marketers, the #1 show for network marketers by network marketers. I am your host, 𝗪𝗁𝗁. On today's show, we have something that is extra special. We are hearing today from a young lady who has been able to create a massive network marketing business, being able to, a little over 3 years, build her business up to over 7 figures and has gone international. Now she is sharing just so much insights about how to build your business to such a degree as well. If this is something that you want to hear about, you want to make sure that you watch this interview. You also want to make sure that you not just watch, but you grab pen, pencil, paper, because she shared just so much information and insight on today's interview. So make sure that you stay tuned through to the very end. Come on, let's jump right into it. Let's go. Definitely want to thank you for the time that you're taking to share all of what you're about to share with us, because I already know that it's going to be good. Because when we connected, I left our call, I believe we both left our call just so filled up and just so hyped and a whole lot of energy. And so I know that you're going to pretty much deliver the very same thing here on the actual interview. But I don't want to take too much time chattering. I want you to take over and tell us a bit about your journey in the network marketing industry, how this started for you, and then how this has unfolded so far.
Yeah, well, first of all, Chris, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here and on your show. I'm pleased to share with my experience, and hopefully your viewers gain a little bit of knowledge on how they can also apply what I share into their life and move into action and achieve their goals. So just to give you a little short background, I'm originally from Miami. I kind of learned what not to do growing up. Both my parents were the troublemakers of their family, and I decided that the Air Force, the military, was the best opportunity for me to travel the world and get an education paid for by the government until I figured out what I wanted to do. And long story short, 9 years into the Air Force, I was a student. I was actually learning to become a foreign language officer in the Air Force. I wanted to retire at 20 years with a higher pay grade. So to be an officer would definitely require more schooling. And when I saw my network marketing company, for the first time, I actually only saw the opportunity side to save a ton on my vacations. I wasn't open to making more money. I was satisfied with where I was. And when I said yes, I didn't realize that my friend said, my friend offered me a business, a side hustle, a hobby. At the time, I thought it was a hobby, right? I treated it like a hobby. But what I said yes to was saving a ton of my vacations. As I said before, I love to travel. So I thought opportunity to save on my vacations would be ideal. And then my friend actually turned to me and said, hey, not only will you can save money on your trips, but you can actually earn some money. And when he said that, I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, if you want to share this with your friends and your family and your coworkers and people you meet along your journey, and they join, you can earn some extra income. I was like, okay, I'm listening. He said, well, how much money do you want to make? And at 28 years old, going to school, being in the military, working, for my mom in sales or working at the gym, making shakes, I never was asked how much money I wanted to make. Right. Yeah. And when he asked me that, I was shocked. I had no idea how to answer that question. Yeah. All I knew was that I maxed out my credit card to join. So my first goal was to pay off my credit card bill. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And next thing I know, I'm in some events. I'm going to some trainings. I'm on a vacation, of course. And I'm just loving the atmosphere. I'm loving the community. And I completely fell in love with my first company right off the bat. And it's been an amazing journey thus far.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So like many persons who got started in the industry, you really weren't looking for something, but something found you. Right. You heard money and you said, oh, maybe I can take a listen.
Exactly.
Right? and so you gave a listening ear, and man, has this been the journey for you. But as you developed that business, tell us about how that all blew up for you, because that I feel like, whoa, this was crazy, right? To leave from, no, not really interested in making extra money, but then hearing it and then saying, yeah, I think I'll be interested. Tell me a little bit more, to saying, okay, let's go all in. So tell us about what happened?
Yeah.
What happened for you?
For sure. So my first goal was to have my monthly fees waived. And they said that if you had 4 friends join, then you wouldn't pay anymore. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. I have a ton of friends that will join. And I just made a few phone calls. I told my friends, actually, I would say I showed my friends, right? In the beginning, I probably told them, and we call fire hose them. You tell them everything before they can see anything, which is the wrong way to do it in our industry. Yes. And once I really got the hang of like finding my rhythm, finding my routine, like what worked for me, which was pretty much keeping it simple. You know, our industry is very simpletic. Is that a word? Simpletic. I like to make up my own words, by the way. It's very simple. The problem is that we like to overcomplicate it. And once I really dialed in, I got my 4 in my first month. I never paid a monthly fee. And like I said, I started training. I went to the training events, and then I really digested what they were sharing. And after the big events, I would go home and I would be excited, and I would show more people. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I would have what they call event hangover, because you're so tired, you're given so much energy and you're running. And I would do nothing for a few weeks or sometimes a few months. And then the next event would come up, and it was like this pattern that continued to happen over and over and over again. Until finally one day at one event, I really was just to the point, like, what do I have to do to make this work? Like, what do I have to do to get over this hump that I've been stuck at, and wanting to, reach the level of earning residual income. And my mentors, I remember specifically, we were in Dallas after a major event, and they say big decisions happen at big events. You just have to keep going until it happens. And for me, it finally happened 18 months later, right? 18 months later. And it really would just boil down to staying consistent. I wasn't on track with doing the work time in, time out, over and over again to get the results that I wanted. And, it's no different than going to the gym. You can't just go in January and get a 6-pack or an 8-pack of abs. Yeah. You have to go for months. You have to work on your diet. And it's no different here. You have to get the skill set and apply the skills that you need in order to achieve that. And I really just decided that I was going to run with it. And of course, I had all the challenges and the obstacles come up, right? I was actually moving from Louisiana, where I was stationed at the time, to North Florida. And I was a single woman at the time. I had a dog, a bunch of furniture, and I was actually being transitioned to a special operations group, being in charge for the first time in the Air Force. And I had a lot going on, and I could have made every excuse in the world. But what I decided to do was not create an excuse and just go for it. And I put the horse blinders on, right? You don't look left, you don't look right, you just look forward. And what happened was 45 days after that event, I hit my first level of residual income simply for the fact that I stayed consistent. Literally every person that I was talking to, I told them that I was going to hit residual. I told them where I was going, and I gave them the vision of how it was going to happen, even to the point where they actually announced at the time a BMW car bonus, right? How exciting. And I was like, I'm going to get that also. And I went to the BMW dealership and I test drove the car I wanted. And I told the salesman that I'll be back in a month when my company can pay for it. And he was like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, my company's going to pay for this. I'm going to earn this car. He's like, how so? I was like, well, let's meet up for coffee and I'll show you. So it just continued to cycle, and the growth continued to happen. People started just joining. And, you know, at times I remember where I would sit back at an event and hear people share their story of how they worked so hard. And then all of a sudden their business spiked and there was a ton of flux of people joining and a ton of money coming in. And I always thought to myself, oh yeah, that's cool. You know, that happened to you, but that's not going to happen to me. And then next thing I know, boom, it happens. We ended up creating a great amount of income by 2013 back then, just in a few short months, and being able to separate from the Air Force, creating a team of 11,000 people in 20 countries, growing a 6-figure income by year 5, becoming an international speaker. The company was flying me all around the world and the United States to teach people how to build the business, wrote a book, became an international author on how to persist and push through the troubled times, you know, just push until you win, right? And it's been an amazing journey, and I definitely wouldn't change it for the world. And looking back, it just was based off of staying consistent long enough.
Man, no, that was some powerhouse story right there, right? I'm listening, and there's so many pointers that you mentioned a number of things, and I'm here trying to jot them down so I don't forget the pointers, right? So you shared, and you ended with that, the issue of being consistent, because a lot of persons, they do what you did previously, which is to go all out for a period of time, put a whole lot of energy in, and push in a good way for a period, and then pull back and do nothing for quite some time, right? But then you recognize just how significant this issue of consistency is. There is something about being consistent that just cannot be taken for granted. So I'm happy that you were able to bring that point out, because these are some of the elements that I want persons to grab hold of. You know, it's about the consistency. Yes, the quantity of work is important, but the consistency even more so. You also mentioned sharing the vision. You literally sold the people on the vision, and that, guys, is very, very crucial. So there are a lot of persons who get into the industry and they ask questions like, okay, I'm not making the money yet, so how can I convince someone, and how can I speak to a big fish about this opportunity if I'm not making the money yet, if I don't have the evidence for myself yet? And you just answered that in one simple term: share the vision. All you have to do is sell people on the vision, and vision it's intangible, right? You haven't gotten the result yet, but your enthusiasm and your energy and the level of surety and confidence that you speak about this thing with, that is enough to convince somebody else who is a person of vision as well. The right person.
And I would love to add, while you sharing, I was thinking of a gentleman that barely knew me. I think he actually called me from the advertisement on my car, on my back windshield. And we sat down in a public restaurant, and I showed him what was available. And he's like, you know what? I don't know who you are. I don't really know what we're getting into, but I want to join simply because you know where you're going. Mm-hmm. And I want to follow people that know where they're going. And it was all about the body language. It was the eye contact. It was the certainty of the vision that I painted for him. And to this day, you know, he still follows me, and he got started, of course. And it's crazy to know that even strangers can point that out. Like, when you know for certain, without a doubt, that you're going to win, and you know where you're going with this, that's all you got to do is share your passion.
Love it, love it, love it. I'm definitely loving what you're dishing out already, right? So it's, again, sharing that vision, having that posture. Just, there's this knowing that comes when you get to a certain point in your business. You just know that this thing is going to work for you. And once you get to that place of knowing, the body language switches, your confidence switches, and all of that amazing stuff. You mentioned, I'm jumping over into something else, but you mentioned just now about having an ad on your car. Now, I want us to talk a little bit about marketing, because a lot of network marketers, unfortunately, are not very savvy marketers at all. They struggle with getting in front of the right people, struggle with communicating with people about their businesses, right? But you just mentioned something that only a very few people are doing. Yes, a decent number are using that method, but not many people are. So let's talk a little bit about some methods of getting in front of people, some methods of marketing that you have used over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, from when I first started, I always teach people in this industry, you just got to find someone that has what you want and just go do what they did. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. And one day I was at an event and someone had get paid on their back window. And I was like, what? And they had their phone number. And I was like, I want to get paid. Like, that's a great idea. Obviously, they're in our company, so I knew what they were referring to. But I thought to myself, what a great way to market myself and put something on the back of my window. It doesn't have to be exactly what you're doing, but gain curiosity for people to be able to pick up the phone and call you. And like I said earlier, you just never know who that one person picks up the phone and makes that attempt to join. Could be your ace, could be the next person that takes you to a new level. And now today it's moved to Making Dreams a Reality is now on my car with my Instagram handle name. And it has been awesome. You know, people call and say, hey, how do I make dreams a reality? How do you make my dreams a reality? And it's like, okay, well, what's your dream, right? What do you want to do? What's your passion? And I'm also, you know, not one with a marketing degree or business degree, but I do understand that social media has been a huge avenue to reach out to friends, to reach out to family, to stay connected. And that's been great. And we all been following each other and learning about each other and watching each other's lives. But what if you have something so great in your life that you want to share with others? Like for me, you know, I love to share my passion in travel. And if others want to travel and save a ton, guess what? My Facebook page, my Instagram page reads all about that. People know exactly what I'm up to. I'm not hiding anything because I want people to find me. I want people to reach out to me. How cool is it to know that you can create a leads box, is what we call it, where your inbox is no longer just friends and you're reaching out to old relatives, but now it's becoming clients that become new leads, that become customers or loyal business agents with you. So social media, utilizing your car, you know, figure out anything and everything. And it's so great that we can have access to anything that we need to learn through the internet, you know, through YouTube or so many channels now, where, you know, back in the day when I was growing up, I had to pull a book off the shelf called the encyclopedia to learn things. So take advantage, do some research, right?
Yes, I love it. I love it. All right. So pulling out a few pointers, you mentioned Facebook, Instagram, and those platforms just being able to very clearly articulate what it is you do. I want to speak on that for a little bit because there are a lot of persons who are really struggling with this. You visit their platforms, but however, it doesn't really, there is no clarity. So it's not very explicit what is it they're into. The bio doesn't speak much. The Facebook cover, the content that is on the page, or the content that is being, you know, shared out there is not very clear. So ladies and gentlemen that are watching this is something you have to become very, very mindful of. People, when they visit your platform, must be able to see exactly what it is that you are into. Make it explicitly clear that this is what I am about. And you will start attracting the people who are interested in what you're also about as well. Now, when you talk about certain elements of marketing, you mentioned something that is very, very crucial, and that is curiosity. While your profile will highlight all of the good stuff, there are things that you can say and do that gets a person curious to wanting to know more. And that is one of the things that a lot of persons are not using very well. Some of you, when you jump into the DMs, right, the conversations that you're having are not lining up with these kinds of concepts. You want people to become curious about what is it that you're doing. And here's another pointer too. When persons are interacting with you inside the DMs, the next logical step that most persons take is to take a look at your actual profile. Therefore, if your profile is not matching what you're about, you lose this audience. Right? You lose them because it's foggy. You don't want stuff to be foggy for persons. You want to become clear. So all of that quotes and some unnecessary stuff that you're just pulling from all over the place and allowing people to just share stuff on your profile. No, you want to pay attention to that. So I just wanted to throw some of those pointers in there. Now, you also mentioned your transition happening as a result of taking part in an event. Things switched for you after you went to an event and there was just a shift somehow. Talk to us about events, because a lot of persons still don't get it. They still don't understand how significant these events are. If you were to sell me on events, go ahead and sell me. Sell me, girlfriend.
Yes.
Sell me on events.
I would say, yeah, absolutely. Great question. I would say,
liking this video so far, go ahead and smash the like button. Also, leave me a comment in the comment section. And additionally, please ensure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're notified once a new video is released. Let's jump back into it.
absolutely. Great question. I would say, first of all, get to know who your person is that you're, wanting to share or sell something. And know we have an awesome colors test where I'll give you the breakdown really quick. There's 4 colors, red, yellow, blue, and green. And reds pretty much just want to take over the world. They're very aggressive, win at all costs. Blues want to have fun all over the world. Yes, you're definitely, I could tell. They like the parties. Greens are very analytical. My husband's a green. They could drive you the blues crazy. They want all the facts and the numbers. And the yellows are the ones that are, the laid back, chill. They care about people. They love people. They love giving back. And when you know not only who you are, but who you can adapt on being when you're talking to somebody. So if I was inviting Chris to come to one of our events, I already know she's a blue red. she likes to win. She's out to make things happen, and she likes to have fun doing it. I'm also a blue red. And I'll tell her, Chris, first of all, my first question is, Chris, you're coming to our boot camp event on July 15th, right? Yeah. And it's like a hook, yeah, of course. She's coming, right? And I would let her know, oh my gosh, you're going to love this. Make sure that you book your flight from Friday night, because there's an awesome ladies meeting, which you don't want to miss. And get to know what your program is in your course or in your seminar or training event, so that you could share that and be knowledgeable. Because remember, we said already, when someone knows where they're going, people are going to follow. I know exactly what happens at these events. And and I'll let her know, make sure not only do you get in early on Friday, but stay till Monday, even though the event ends on Sunday, because we have the best after parties. The DJ from the event will take over a club, which we shut down, right? Because no clubs open on a Sunday. So we take over the entire club. They open up full staff. Great drink specials, a lot of fun. You will be on the dance floor the whole time, and I will be there right with you. And it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to meet the owner. You're going to meet the top income earners. You're going to have awesome notes to take back so that you can excel in your business. Because once you gain the belief on the event and the company and, our industry, but most importantly in yourself, you're going to be able to drive this to the people you're sharing with, and they will have no doubt, without any judgment or without any question, they're going to join your team, because you're going to be so full of excitement and happiness and joy and determination that people are going to say yes. Yes. So you ready to get your ticket? I'm sold, because when you say I'm meeting all the top people, I'm like, okay, I get to pick their brains so that I can be at the top too, right? So that was the red side, right? That you're I get to meet that was for me too. A week before my first event, they called me and said, Melanie, you're coming to Vegas, right? For our boot camp event. It happened to be the same event. And I was like, no, I live in Louisiana. I've never, I'm a single woman. I don't know anybody, because all my mentors and leaders were in another state. And I was in Louisiana serving in the Air Force. And they're like, yeah, it's this weekend. Come on, let's get your ticket. Didn't you tell me? And this is something that's important. Always know why people join, because people will give anything and everything for their why. So it can't be your children. It can't be money. It can't be, retiring, because everybody wants that. And if that were the case, you would be where you said you would want to be by now. And you're probably not. So find something that really drives you. For me, I wanted to be a stay-home mom and not have to rely on anybody to take care of me, because I grew up in a single motherhood. So I knew that for me, meeting successful people in this industry was super important, because again, I learned what not to do growing up. So when they said, well, Melanie, didn't you want to meet successful people? This is the place you'll meet it. What if we could set up a private lunch with one of our top earners? Would you, you and them, would you make the decision to come? And I was like, yeah, like you can't say no to your why, right? I want to meet successful people. And they're like, okay, I'll call you back. And within 10 minutes, they call me back. They're like, all right, we set you up with so-and-so this day, this time. You're getting your tickets, right? And I was like, yeah. And within a week's notice, I booked my flights. Awesome. I got my ticket. I got my hotel room. And I didn't know who I was going to meet or what was going to happen. And it was life-changing from then on.
Amazing, amazing. I hope you guys are really listening to this, because if you're a leader or you are striving to become a leader, you have to get your people into these events. Just so many persons in the industry have shared that something amazing happened for them. Majority of the shifts in mindset and in their income and all of that took place because of something that happened, some experience at a major event. And so you want to get as many butts in those seats, right? As many butts in the seats as possible that you could possibly get. And so how Melanie just went through it just now, she literally just showed you in terms, that was almost like a script in a sense, but it's a framework of how you can get people in. Talk to them about their why. And another thing that was very clear for me is that she assumed that they were going. Yeah, so it wasn't, it was, you're going, right? So it's an assumption that there's no way that you could possibly be missing this, because remember you said that you wanted to do this, and you wanted this. Also, think about the color person. What kind of person is this? Because Melanie's doing an excellent job in sharing this with us, right? What kind of person is this, and what will motivate that person? And use their language. Use their language to get them moving. Yeah? I am absolutely loving it. Yes. All right. So looking at some other stuff that you mentioned, right? Because I want to pull the different pointers, because I want to make sure that the persons are not just hearing it, but it stays with them. Because sometimes when we hear something, we don't really hear it. It's sort of, but I want to make sure that I'm pulling out the information and that they're definitely getting it. All right. So additional thing, if you were to provide someone with some tips, someone who might be new, someone who might be struggling, might be considering, man, this is not for me. I'm gonna throw in the towel. You already just got started, and this thing is harder than it seemed. I got in thinking that I was just gonna get to the big bucks, but man, this is seeming like there is work to be done. What would you say to either of these persons? What tips do you have for this person?
I would say just have patience, because I also thought the same thing. I'm like, who's not going to say yes to saving a ton on their trips? Like, everybody wants to save money. And what it boiled down to was a lot of times people had their own fears. They had their own anxieties. They had their own doubts. And it's really not you that they're saying no to. It's to themselves. And I've actually did a ton of studies, invested a ton of money into myself, because you are your greatest asset. So that's why we say the events are everything. It's kind of like if you were to become a lawyer or doctor and you try to, operate on somebody or go to court for somebody and representing them without having a degree. Like it's not going to work, right? It's no different here. You want to become financially wealthy and successful. One, you're either there now, or two, you have to go through enough training. You have to apply enough skills that you've learned and adapted to get to where you're going. This is not, the lottery ticket where you become rich overnight, but this is the fast track. This is faster than the 40 years of work for 40% of your income for 40 hours a week, right? This is your life. This is the time that you get to invest as much or as little as you want. And obviously, the more you put into it, the more you get out, right? Yes. And you would have to definitely exchange time for money. You would definitely have to exchange something to receive something. And as I said, I was studying Darren Hardy. He wrote the book, The Compound Effect, and he just blows my mind because it's right. And he actually was the editor and journalist for Success Magazine for 2 decades. That's 20 years. That's 40 years, 20 years. And he interviewed all of the successful people in the world. And guess what? He turned around and created a training on that for people like us. And he had mentioned that 75 to 85% of people, 75 to 85% of the population has to see something 7 to 12 times before saying yes. What? Yep. because you and I, Chris, probably said yes on the first viewing, right? We're like, it makes sense. Well, let me remind you that the 80-20 rule. I'm sure you've heard of this. 80% of people won't do anything. And that applies to anything and everything in life, whether it's the gym, whether it's building your business, whether it's, parenting correctly, right? Anything and everything. 80% of people won't do anything. 20% will, and the top 10 to 2% will reach the highest levels. Yeah. Okay. That's very slim. Now, I don't know about you. When I see numbers and charts and statistics, I know to myself, I'm not a statistic. I know that the person next to me, I can work just as much as them and get the same or better results. So don't ever compare yourself to anyone else, because you have special gifts and special talents that the world needs. We don't need another Melanie 𝗪𝘁. We don't need another 𝗪𝗁. We need you to be on point with your purpose here in life, because imagine a world that everyone is in divine purpose, and how we can bring so much joy and happiness to everyone around us simply because we're living in our divine purpose or in our gifts. And for me, it's, being able to help others, whether it's traveling, looking good, feeling good, or even making some extra income. So have patience. Don't forget about your why, and just stay consistent.
Absolutely loving it. Because that issue of patience, it's a big one for a lot of persons.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like I said before, most people want it right now. And they forget, like, this is the fast track plan. You can retire in 5 years. It took me less than 3 years to retire myself from the Air Force active duty, which was 8 years earlier than planned. I never once thought I was going to see this industry and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to retire. Remember, I said I joined just for the travel benefits. I didn't know that I was going to make 6 figures and then eventually 7 figures and be the top single female earner in the company. That just happened because I stayed consistent long enough.
Woo! Guys, we can dream, right? Dream, guys, dream.
Yes.
So Melanie, you said something earlier I have to pull out as well, because you mentioned persons needed to see something between 7 to 12 times for them to take action and say yes or no or whatever, making an actual decision, right? And this is one of the reasons why I'm always preaching about the follow-up. And a lot of persons, we get the preaching, but we don't take the preaching. We're not taking the lessons. And I'm big on automations. A lot of the stuff I automate it because it's a headache to try and do all of that stuff on your own, right? Using systems has made it easier for us to do this. However, even if you don't have those systems, you have to do those follow-ups. You are going to be leaving just so much money on the table. I'm trying to emphasize this for you. I hope you're feeling the passion, so that you do not leave all of this money on the table. Because if you have to get in front of someone 7 to 12 times and you only get in front of them once or twice, you haven't done the work. It's not as difficult as we make it seem sometimes. There's a formula, and if the formula is followed, then things will happen. Some of it you will not see right away, but over time, as you continue to work on it, someone shared on one of the interviews, I believe it was Lisa, she shared that there are some things that you do that you won't see results for it until probably 6 months down the road. Maybe a year down the road, right? Maybe 2 years. But some of these things, when they start to bring in fruit, they just keep pouring. They just keep pouring, right? The follow-ups is one of those things that you cannot leave undone. You have to get it done, guys. You have to make this a priority thing. And if you are like me and you can't remember all of this, or even follow up with all of this on your own, then you need to get systems. Apply systems that will be able to do this for you, so that you don't lose track of all of what's happening, right? So I just wanted to throw that pointer right in there. All right. So I believe we have already shared just so much that persons can take quite a bit from, right? So I feel that they have already gotten just so much that they're going to have to watch this maybe 2 or 3 times to pull out all of the pointers, because that's how I am. I am always looking at the different pointers, because again, when you hear something once, you don't even remember. You don't remember most of what you heard. So guys, you have to revisit this piece of content. So any final word for the audience? What do you want to leave us with?
I would just piggyback off of what you said, you know, doing the repetitiveness that you feel like you're not getting results, but underneath the surface, you really are, you're growing. You know, I imagine, as I'm sharing with you, an iceberg. You only see an iceberg so much out of the water, and underneath the water is a huge, big ice block. Yes. And it simply reminds you, is like, most people will only see the results. So most people will only see, you know, the success and the wins, versus they don't hear about the struggles, or they don't hear about the challenges, or, you know, the people that got cursed out, you know, on a call before, or you know, has their mom trying to sue them right now. Like, you don't hear about that, but that's the challenges that people have to go through in order to level up in life. And I think about, you know, as I watch my favorite movie, and every time I watch it over and over again, I always find something new. And that's what happens in life. You're going to be revealed to new levels and new perspectives at different times in your life. So don't feel like you're going to this training, another training event, and you're hearing the same people share the same message. Rather than going there and being excited that you may meet someone new, or you may hear what the trainer said in a different way, or if you are a trainer yourself, you could now watch them and how their body language is moving, and how they're interacting with the crowd, or, you know, how they're making eye contact or moving across the stage. There's so many more growth habits to learn in life, especially if you haven't received or achieved the things that you want yet. And what I would say is, have faith. They say that if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. But the only thing that people don't realize is that they think that they're the one moving the mountains. It's your faith that moves the mountain. We only ask that you have faith as small as a mustard seed, so the mountains may be moved for you on behalf of you.
Man, that was a beautiful sermon at the end right there, Mel.
Amen.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you are just full. I know that you are loving Mel right now, and you're like, yes, Mel, preach, Mel, preach. if you are watching this and you might want to get in contact with Mel, go right ahead and leave a comment in the comment section so that she can touch back base with you. Or I'll also have my info in the description as well. You can reach out to me and I'll connect you guys. But man, this was just absolutely amazing. I'm just loving Impact Marketers. Mel, thank you so much. We appreciate you for the time that you have spent with us, just taking time out. As we know you're busy. We know you're making that money. You know you're at it, right? And so for you to take the time out and to come on here and just to pour into us, we are just eternally grateful. We are grateful for what you've left us with. And ladies and gentlemen watching this, remember, you want to share these videos because you want to help other people who are also on this journey as well. We can't be selfish. Go ahead and share this with someone in your company. Share this with a sideline. Share this with downline. Share this information because, again, faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. The more you hear something, this repetition is going to be what transforms the mindset over time. So just continue watching these videos. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel so that you don't miss out on anything. Of course, hit the notification bell so that you are notified once the video is released. Again, Mel, we certainly appreciate you. Until next time, my darling, thank you so much.
Thank you, beautiful. It was an honor. Bye, everyone.